There is a bird in your yard right now that recognizes you, not in the simple way animals notice movement, not just a shape passing through its space. It knows your face. It remembers how you move, and it has been watching you for longer than you think. Every time you step outside, every small routine you repeat is paying attention, and based on what it has learned about you, it has already decided what kind of human you are. Welcome back to the Silent Bird Signal. If you're new here, subscribe because what you're about to hear will change the way you see every bird that visits your yard. Today we're going to walk through 8 signs that the birds around you aren't just noticing you, they're studying you, what they've learned, what they've decided, and what that quietly means for you. Stay with me until the end, because sign number 6 is something researchers didn't believe was possible, and sign number 8 is the one that changes everything. Sign number 1. The birds arrive before you've done anything. You know this moment. You haven't opened the door yet. You haven't filled the feeder. You haven't made a single sound. And still, you look outside, and they're already there, waiting. A small bird on the branch closest to where you usually stand. A cardinal facing toward your house. Not moving. Just there. Most people assume this is coincidence. It isn't. Research from institutions like Cambridge and the Cornell Lab of Ornithology has shown that many backyard birds develop something called anticipatory behavior toward specific humans. They learn your patterns. They track when you appear. They remember what happens when you do. Food, safety, routine. In controlled observations, some birds were shown to adjust their position minutes before a specific person even arrived. Not anyone, that person. Which means this: if birds are already positioned in your yard before you step outside, they're not reacting to you. They're expecting you. You are already part of their world before you even enter it. And if you really let that settle for a moment, that something as small as a bird has built you into its understanding of reality, there's something about that feels surprisingly profound. Sign number 2. They respond differently to you than to strangers. You've probably seen this without realizing it. Someone else steps into your yard. A neighbor, a delivery driver, someone unfamiliar, and almost instantly, something changes. The birds pull back. They go quiet. The feeder empties. There's a pause in the air, like the entire space is waiting. But when it's you, they stay. Maybe they shift slightly. Maybe they move to a nearby branch. But they don't leave. They don't react the same way. Most people think this is random, or that birds are just reacting to noise or movement. But it's not that simple. Research published in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences demonstrated that certain birds, especially crows, can recognize and remember individual human faces, not just once, for years. In controlled studies, birds were able to distinguish between a face associated with danger and one that wasn't, even when everything else changed: clothing, posture, location. And more than that, other birds who had never seen that person before began reacting the same way. The information spread, which means this: to the birds in your yard, you are not just a human. You are a specific human, a known presence, filed somewhere in their memory as either safe or not. And the fact that they stay near you while others cause them to disappear tells you everything about the decision they've already made. Sign number 3. They make eye contact. This one is easy to miss, but once you notice it, you won't be able to unsee it. Stand still for a moment, near your feeder, or anywhere a bird feels comfortable enough to stay. At some point, one of them will stop what it's doing. It will turn, and it will look directly at you, not scanning the yard, not reacting to movement, looking at your face. And it will hold that gaze, just long enough for you to feel it. Then it goes back to what it was doing, like nothing happened. Most people dismiss this. They assume it's random, just instinct. But in birds, direct visual focus isn't automatic. Because of the placement of their eyes, looking directly at something requires intention. They have to turn their head, adjust their angle, pause their constant scanning of the environment. That costs attention. And attention in the wild is survival. Which means when a bird gives that attention to you, even for a second, it has chosen to. Researchers describe this as investigative orientation, a behavior used when something is not just present, but meaningful, something worth understanding. And if it happens more than once, if the same bird looks at you again and again, then you're no longer just part of the background. You are something it's trying to figure out. And there is something about being truly seen, even by something so small, that reaches deeper than most people expect. Because for a moment, you're not invisible. Sign number 4. They track you as you move. This one takes a little more attention to notice. But once you see it, you won't question it again. Go outside. Walk slowly through your yard. From one familiar spot to another. The door, the feeder, the far edge of the space. And pay attention, not to what the birds are doing loudly, but to what they're doing quietly. A bird that was facing away turns slightly. Another shifts its position, just enough to keep you in view. One hops to a different branch. Not to leave, but to follow. Not chasing you, tracking you. Most people assume birds either stay or fly away. But there's a third behavior, and it's far more subtle. They stay, and they keep you in their awareness. In behavioral science, this is known as subject tracking. It's how animals monitor individuals in their environment. That matter. Predators are tracked, of course, but so are familiar presences, because even something safe can become unpredictable, which means this: if birds in your yard are adjusting their position as you move, not leaving, not panicking, just keeping you in view, then you are not background. You are something their mind is actively following. You exist inside their awareness, and every step you take updates that awareness in real time. There's something quietly powerful about that, because it means you are not just passing through their world. You are part of it. Sign number 5. They've told other birds about you. This is where it becomes harder to ignore, because now it's no longer just one bird noticing you. It's many, and some of them have never even interacted with you directly. You might have seen this before. A new bird appears in your yard, one you've never noticed, and yet it behaves as if it already knows you. It doesn't panic. It doesn't react like a stranger would expect. It just fits into the same pattern, as if it's already been informed. Most people would dismiss this. They assume each bird acts independently, that every interaction starts from zero. But that's not how it works. Research on species like crows has shown that birds are capable of something called social learning of human identity. They don't just learn about you themselves. They share that information. Young birds who have never encountered a specific person can inherit the same reaction patterns simply by observing others. Avoidance, trust, recognition, passed along without direct experience. And it's not just visual. Birds communicate constantly through sound, subtle calls, variations in tone, signals that carry meaning other species can even interpret. If one bird signals that you are safe, that information spreads, quietly, naturally, without you ever noticing, which means this: your presence in your yard is not stored in one mind. It exists across a network, a shared understanding, a reputation. And when the birds around you continue feeding, continue moving, continue existing without fear in your presence, that isn't just individual trust. It's collective. They've decided, together, and in a way that most people never stop to consider, they've already agreed on who you are. Sign number 6. They've started bringing you things. This is the point where most people hesitate, because now it no longer feels like observation. It feels intentional. You might not have noticed it at first. A small object, near where you usually stand. Pebble, slightly out of place. A piece of something that doesn't belong there. Easy to ignore. Easy to dismiss as random. But then, it happens again and again. Placed, not dropped. Most people would never connect this to birds. It feels too deliberate, too human. But long-term observations of certain bird species, especially crows and jays, have documented something unexpected. Objects appearing in locations tied to specific people, not scattered, not accidental, positioned. Researchers studying corvid behavior began noticing patterns, where birds would leave small items near feeding spots, associated with a particular human. Shiny fragments, twigs, pieces of debris, nothing of obvious value, but consistently in the same place, and importantly, not for everyone, just one person, the one they had learned, the one they had observed, the one who had, over time, become part of their world. What researchers are still trying to understand is not whether this happens, but why. Is it exchange? Is it curiosity? Is it something closer to what we would call a gesture? There isn't a clean answer yet, but there is one thing that is clear. It is not random, and if you've ever found something placed in a way that made you pause, something small, but strangely deliberate, you might want to reconsider what you're looking at, because it's possible you weren't just noticing something, you were being responded to. Sign number 7. The sounds around you have changed. This one doesn't rely on what you see. It depends on what you hear. Step outside. And don't look for movement. Listen. There are always sounds in a yard with birds. But they're not all the same. Some are sharp, quick, almost urgent. Others are softer, rhythmic, almost conversational. Most people hear noise, but what's actually happening is communication. Birds use different types of calls to signal completely different things. Alarm calls, short, high-pitched, difficult to locate, designed to warn, to alert, to say something is wrong. And then there are contact calls, gentler sounds, that maintain connection, a kind of background reassurance. Everything is fine. Stay where you are. Keep going. Now here's the part most people miss. The ratio of those sounds changes, depending on you. When a human is unfamiliar or not trusted, alarm calls increase. The space tightens. The sound sharpens. Everything becomes cautious. But when a human is known and categorized as safe, those alarm calls begin to fade. They don't disappear completely, but they soften, and something else takes their place. Normal behavior, soft movement, quiet communication. Life continues without interruption, which means this: the sound of your yard is a reflection of how you've been understood, not by one bird, but by many. And if, when you step outside, the birds don't scatter, don't fall silent, don't shift into warning, but instead continue as they were, then your presence is no longer an event. It's part of the environment. And there's something quietly profound about that, because it means in a world where everything is constantly evaluating risk, you've been accepted. Sign number 8. A bird came to you when you needed it most. I saved this one for last because it belongs here. Everything we've talked about so far, recognition, memory, behavior, all of it lives in the world of observation. Science can describe it, measure it, explain parts of it. But this is different. This is the moment most people don't talk about easily, because it didn't feel like information. It felt personal. You know the moment. Maybe it was recent. Maybe it was years ago. But something in your life had shifted. Something heavy. Something final. Something that left a space behind. And then a bird appeared. Not dramatically. Not loudly. Just there. Closer than expected. Longer than normal. And something about it didn't feel random. It stayed. It looked at you. And for a brief moment, you didn't just see it. You felt something. Not a thought. Not an explanation. A feeling that this meant something. Most people try to explain this away. Coincidence. Pattern recognition. Emotional projection. And maybe, in some cases, that's enough. But here's the truth. Across cultures, across generations, across completely different belief systems, people have described the exact same experience. Different words, same feeling. A moment where a bird appeared and something inside them went still. Not confused. Still. Now I'm not going to tell you what that moment was, and I'm not going to tell you what it means, because the moment you define it, you reduce it. What I can tell you is this: the birds in your world are far more aware than most people realize. They recognize, they remember, they respond. And beyond that, there are still things about their behavior we don't fully understand yet. Things we haven't measured, things we haven't named. And maybe that's okay, because not everything meaningful needs to be explained. Sometimes it just needs to be noticed. So the next time a bird appears and something about it feels different, don't rush past it. Don't dismiss it. Just pay attention. Because after everything we've talked about today, there's one thing that becomes very clear. The bird knows you're there. Before you go, I want to ask you something, and I really do want you to answer. Has a bird ever come to you in a way that didn't feel like coincidence? A moment that stayed with you? Something you've thought about more than once? What happened? What kind of bird was it? And what was going on in your life at that time? I read every one of these, and some of the stories people share are unforgettable. If this video made you think of someone, send it to them or share it for them, because sometimes the right moment finds people through something as simple as this. Thank you for being here, and I'll see you in the next one.